Dear friends, let us look at the heralds of Romanticism. Generally, we call them as precursors of Romanticism. This herald of Romanticism begins with a poet called James Thomson. James Thomson, who was born in the early part of 18th century, in the beginning of 18th century, was remarkable for returning to nature. Going far away from Alexander Pope's poetry of urban life and artificial life of England, Thomson began a great adventure. His remarkable poem Seasons is the first of its kind to return to so-called Elizabethan Romanticism with worship of nature. James Thomson's Season is one such effort where Thomson is able to describe 4 seasons in his poem. The routine, urban and artificial life that was rejected by James Thomson as against to Pope's artificiality of poetry became an arresting for the readers who were actually fed up with the glorification of artificiality of England. James Thomson's Season is one such significant poem that takes us back to worship of nature. The serenity and the pristine nature, placidity of rural life is the setting of James Thomson's poem. His another and second remarkable poem is Castle of Indolence. James Thomson, as in his first poem Seasons, again tries to develop the idea of worshipping nature and considering nature as an everlasting source of influence in his life. His Castle of Indolence was actually a beginner to consider what we read in Keatsian kind of aestheticism and worship of nature. Keats, in a way, is indebted to James Thomson's poem Castle of Indolence in exploring aesthetic sense in his poetry. Though James Thomson lived for a short period, his 2 poems are the real beginners of romantic elements in English poetry. After James Thomson, when we look at a continuator of this precursors of Romanticism, it was Thomas Gray, who seems to be very remarkable through his poems. Thomas Gray's elegy written in Country Churchyard is one such lengthy but a remarkable effort in opening the eyes of English rulers towards the unselfish, innocent sacrifice of the common people to the country. Thomas Gray actually made the common people as heroes in his poetry. The elegy written in Country Churchyard was actually considered as really a heart-rending depiction by even the great administrators of England. Apart from this long poem Elegy written in Country Churchyard, Thomas Gray is known for his Pindaric odes. The poems like The Bard, Ode on Spring, Ode on Adversity are 3 important poems of Thomas Gray. He popularized the Pindaric odes once again in late 18th century after Abraham Cowley, who wrote on this form in 17th century. Thomas Gray once again takes us to nature and considers the common people, the agrarian society of England, as a very significant part of inspiration in his poetry. And the next poet is William Collins. William Collins returns to nature through his odes. His Ode to Evening is known for its lyrical aspects. Generally, when we look at romantic poets of 19th century, when we read Wordsworth, Keats and Coleridge, we talk about lyricism in poetry, but it is William Collins who is known for those lyrical aspects in his poetry. Another remarkable name is William Cowper. William Cowper, who wrote satires, popularized lyricism and romantic elements, love for nature, emotion, etc. in his poetry. His poems like Table Talk, Truth, Expostulation, Retirement, etc. are popular satires. Apart from these, he popularized blank verse and heroic couplets in his writing career. His concern for India is remarkable. William Cowper criticized Hastings' rule in India and favored Indians' freedom through his poetry. In the late 18th century, to see that an ordinary poet could criticize a British ruler is worth considerable as far as love for India is concerned. He is known for his didactic poems and translation of Homer into English. After William Cowper, we consider George Crabbe as another poet who is known for his pastorals, his nature poetry and anti-romantic element, or say anti-Popian in his nature, were very remarkable qualities, but still he was Wordsworthian as far as nature is concerned. William Blake, who wrote during last quarter of 18th century, is highly imaginative and considered as a mystical poet who, through his songs of innocence and songs of experience, became a remarkable romantic poet of the early days. His concern for the children, innocence, and his revolt against social problems or evils is one of the major aspects in his poetry. William Blake is considered a significant poet for his nature poems, for his picture of innocence, etc. Apart from these poets, we have Robert Burns, who is Scottish but very liberal, who brought romantic aspects of liberalism in his poetry. His poems like Tam O'Shanter and The Jolly Beggars are two important poems of his period. Though Arnold criticized Robert Burns and though he denied a front rank in the poets of early romantics, it is Burns who is known for his Scottish dialect and element of nature, satire, wit and fun in his poems. In that sense, Robert Burns is also a very significant part of these precursors of Romanticism. Thank you.